everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. You're chopping it up with Chuck. I'm the editor-in-chief here with Cannabis and Tech Today, and we are very excited to have today as our guest, Dr. Jon Thompson, the CEO of extraktLAB. How are you doing, Jon?
Excellent. Wow, it's a great day.
It's awesome to have you here. We're going to have a nice little chat today, talk a little bit about extraction, talk a little bit about, kind of current events. These are crazy times in the industry right now. And do you mind telling us just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I have a PhD in analytical chemistry, and we've been building equipment for the cannabis and hemp markets now since about 2013. Prior to that, we worked for the Air Force and NASA. I started my company in 2007, and prior to that, was working for corporate America and mergers and acquisitions.
Gotcha. So when did the extraction business really take off? Was it 2013?
Yeah, it was 2013. One of my college buddies and I, we started what's now become a large multi-state operator that's publicly traded in Canada. And my part of that was basically to set up all the equipment and all the facilities. So that was a great time. And we started building equipment right around that time, building it for ourselves, And then basically I started to build equipment for the world. And we literally, we have hundreds of installations. We put hundreds of people into the business of extracting weed and extracting cannabis and extracting a lot of other things like kava and, Sapa Meadow and, weird stuff like, sea cucumbers and things like that. So, done a lot of hemp as well. So
you can use this extraction equipment for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Extraction is a general technique, and we use CO2, which is really preferred in the industry who's going to actually imbibe the oils that are coming out of the botanical. So yeah, absolutely. That's can be used in all kinds of different industries. It's a really great time to be alive. And especially with the hemp industry, the way it's going, and in the cannabis industry, the way it's going overseas and in the US, it's on fire. Even now in the midst of this COVID thing.
So there's, and I'm going to get back to that in just a minute, but there's a lot of, are there different ways to do extraction besides CO2, but CO2 is the most preferred method?
Yeah, you can extract with any kind of different kind of solvents. You think you can even extract with gasoline, for example, if you wanted to. It just wouldn't be very safe or effective or very healthy. So a lot of people in the industry try to, they use different things like hexanes, or they'll use heptane, or they'll use ethanol with heptane or ethanol with hexane. What's nice about CO2 is it doesn't carry any of the basically chemical additives. So when you get rid of it, there's nothing left except for the oil. So you don't have to deal with residuals or possibility residuals. I've been working a lot on kind of understanding what those residuals are all about, in the industry. And it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And so how did you get into, cannabis per se? I mean, you're a doctor, you're a smart guy. You've got, a whole lot of knowledge going on there. What's your relationship with cannabis, or why did you decide this is the path I'm going to take?
Yeah, I think I came from the technology and the science side. And I thought when in 2013, and even still today, we're talking about a market that's growing from, single digit billions to double digit billions. And I looked at it as, wow, what a great opportunity to, apply science. What a great opportunity to really, really make a contribution. And so that was really my deal. I didn't come in as a flag waver, for example, for the cannabis industry, but definitely, like the science side, like the technology side. My buddy, called me up one day and basically said, "Hey, why don't we go write some licenses?" And so was involved in that. He spearheaded a lot of most all of it. I just was doing the technical stuff, and then I just loved I just love putting machines together. So, you're kind of coming at it from someone who just has a real passion for, high quality and it's like everything we do is like top end. So I really like that aspect. We're not going for the low cost leader in the market at all. So we're doing everything the best we can. We're wigging it all out with, all the sensors and, controls that people need. So, I would say that we have a luxury brand when it comes to extraction and distillation and, other equipment, filtration equipment and chromatography equipment that we make. It's just a lot of fun. So that's where I come from it. We've been doing a lot of hemp too. I've been enjoying it. We grew approximately about 60 acres this year, just because we wanted to have some, materials so that we could actually, do development and work. Sure. And boy, that was a lot of fun. That was a great time. I really enjoyed it a lot. It kind of brought me back to the early days of some of the early days of cannabis and seeing all the greenhouses up, and it's really fun to see a product that, and a plant that you can convert into a product that, has such great health benefits. And, a lot of people that use our stuff is you just get all of these reports back saying, hey, that stuff actually works. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you're like a mad scientist, in a good way. And this is your opportunity. This is your sandbox, and you're getting to play right here. I can tell you love this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. An artist with a muse or a scientist with some object to really apply it to. And we're doing all kinds of stuff in the laboratory. We have a really great, like R&D laboratory. Mm-hmm. Just tell you a little bit, we had, like when I first started out, we did, we didn't really have a lot of engineers. So we were just chemists, and the way chemists do things, we just buy stuff, put it together. So, obviously it was a really inefficient process. Okay. So we have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of prototypes that were just, I have like trailers filled up with like, lab equipment and things like that just defunct. So we decided to take all that stuff out and put it into a laboratory and start building stuff. So that's something that we're, using some of our time with. We're building, chemical things. We're taking our equipment and doing, very special things with it, that people like to see. For example, extraction of ghost peppers, for example. Uh-huh. So, you kind of try to concentrate it up. Hops was one of the things that, has been well known. You use that, supercritical CO2 extractors for hops. So, but have you ever tasted a hops extract?
No.
Oh, it's like bitter, crazy bitter. Like you will, like the bitterness is, like hops have this bitterness factor to them, that the industry puts on. But when you concentrate it, it's like super bitter. So pretty cool things that you can do, and just have fun with the technology too.
Isn't the hop, because when you look at it, it kind of looks a little bit like a bud. Isn't the hop like a cousin or something like that of the cannabis?
There's lots of terpenes in hops. It's crazy. I mean, have you ever had obviously IPA beer? There's stuff,
Big fan.
Yeah. So big fan. Me too. I love it. So yeah. And, all the terpenes, of course, you can make a rich hoppy terpene sauce, Mm-hmm. So it's fun. It's just a lot of fun. We're having a great time. Not only with creating new equipment that people love and will buy and that meets their needs, but we're just having a lot of fun as a team. We have chemists, we have engineers on staff, and I got my mad scientist R&D lab that we're kind of doing some fun stuff with. So we'll be publishing a bunch of stuff on it. So we're going to like a lot of the hemp that we get out of our extractors, they have, mm-hmm. They have like this little pellets that come out that are, they don't have any CBD in them. Okay. Cause they're all okay. So we're smoking brisket with, just in the next couple of days here with those hemp pellets. We're going to see how it tastes. It may taste good, may not taste good. Who knows? Why not? Right.
Right.
We have all this stuff laying around, and why not smoke brisket with it?
How many people do you have at your company?
Well, within United Science, we have, approximately 50, and then we have another 50 in our operations. So we got all told about 100 people.
Okay. And how have things affected, because we're recording this here. It's, let's see, what is the date? The days are a blur right now. It is April 7th, 2020. We are, depending on where you live, we're a few weeks into the stay-at-home order. Of course, a lot of machinery, a lot of the cannabis industry has been deemed essential. Us here in the media and such as well, we've got to put out information and things like that. So we're essential. How has all of this affected your guys' business?
Well, I think that we're getting requests for quotes like crazy. One of the things that's really driving that, ask is you can't get ethanol right now and anything for the near-seeable future. That's just basically because a lot of people are putting it into hand sanitizer. So there's just basically all the ethanol is sucked out of the supply chain right now. We tried to make a whole bunch of hand sanitizer. We could, so our delivery is, on a tote of ethanol that's compliant with the hand sanitizer rules. I mean, they won't even deliver till end of May. And we tried to get IPA. So that's a lot of the solvent that people use, for extraction is just not available. So CO2 is obviously available. It's plentiful. There's no major, huge, overarching demand. Like everybody uses 100 milliliters worth of hand sanitizer a day. That's not happening with CO2. So yeah, we're getting lots of quotes on that. And then not only that, the market itself is still, we're seeing, on our contract business, we're also seeing a lot of, we're seeing a lot of growth there. So a lot of people are coming to us to get their hemp extracted. And that business is just absolutely booming. So I don't think that we haven't seen an effect yet. I'm sure there will be because, the overall economy, but we have, we have the market itself is going to grow, multiples in the next several years. So people who can survive this and then, have a good, clean product and produce a really good product for, the industries, they're going to be successful. So yeah, I'm still have this bullish attitude toward it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's nice to be able to talk to different companies and different brands that are in the middle of this right now and just kind of hear what's going on because, situation dictates. But it sounds like supply chain is something that I'm hearing kind of across the board is one of the biggest challenges right now, especially like what you said, can't get ethanol. Yeah,
so that's why we're getting so many requests for quote. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are saying, wait a second, hey, we built our business model around this, that we can't get it. And in the foreseeable future, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of ethanol because every American wants to have lots of ethanol. Now, eventually on their hands, to wipe them off, to get them clean. And so eventually, obviously the supply is going to catch up with the demand. But right now it's just you can't even get the stuff. So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break right now. Give a shout out to our sponsors. But when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about hemp, CBD, kind of what's the state of the state there. And most importantly, what should people look for if they're interested in getting an extraction system? I want to hear from you kind of behind the scenes, what some of the things they should look for, because it's obviously, it's a pretty big investment. And, and all the science and everything behind the scenes, would love to hear your opinion on that. So we'll be right back after this brief break.
Today's episode is brought to you by FRITSH. FRITSH is a milling and sizing company for many industries, cannabis being one of them. As the cannabis industry pushes to be an advocate for transparency and quality, FRITSH uses their experience in food, pharma, and agriculture to help you optimize your processes and techniques for materials that are critical for extractions, pre-rolls, and different edible products. FRITSH works with you to give the best high-quality end product to the consumers and patients with the highest reward. They have a special site with information at www.cannabis-milling.com, and also visit their main page, www.FRITSH.us, to learn more.
Hey, everybody, we're back with Cannabis Tech Talks. You're chopping it up with Chuck, and we are here today speaking with Dr. Jon Thompson, the CEO of extraktLAB. And what should people look for when they're going to purchase an extraction system? What is the most important thing? Because it's a major investment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's going to cost you some cash. I think that, if you're buying a machine to produce money and to print money, basically, you got to make sure that it's going to perform the way you think it's going to perform, that it's compliant with all the regulations that you need to be compliant with. But you also have to make sure, and one of the things that really is kind of overlooked in the industry is the operating costs. So you really have to take a laser focus on how much it's going to take you to produce, for example, a kilo of crude oil or a kilo of distillate. And so those are the three main things. The compliancy thing really goes back to, where are you going to sell your oils? Do you need GMP compliance with your equipment and also with your facility? And then, do you have a piece of equipment that's going to make you produce a profit? That's really important. So especially nowadays, if you have all these competitors out there, it seems like there's a lot of people doing extractions right now. You want to make sure that you can come into the market with the lowest cost of products so that your profits are highest possible.
That makes sense. And what do you think about the hemp market right now today and CBD? I know, a year and a half ago, CBD was hotter than the left sink handle. You know what I mean? Like it was, CBD was all you could hear about. Now more states are coming online with hemp. And we've seen in the past, maybe some issues with distribution of the crops and, percentages of THC based upon the regulations and stuff like that. What's kind of your opinion on the state of the state with hemp and CBD right now?
Yeah, I think, state by state, it's doing pretty well. I mean, it started out with a 2014 bill, and then you had the basically what happened in 2018, 2019 with the signing of the hemp bill, which really allowed the states to set up their own programs. That's been an explosion. I mean, we're only, a little over a year in that whole aspect of it. It's amazing what has happened. I mean, first of all, a lot of people, who hadn't been growing, for example, they all want to get in on the gold rush. We had all kinds of, farmers coming thinking they were going to make, $2 million from 10 acres of crop. And at the prices at the time, that's what it was. A lot of people with dollar signs in their eyes. So those are the things that, we see, really with the hemp industry. And, we continue to see that it's going to grow and going to get better and better. Yeah.
I mean, what percentage, if you had to split it, of your sales go to cannabis versus hemp? Is it like 50-50?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the auditors just asked me that, and yeah, it is about 50-50. So we have, we do a lot of business in Canada, and that's that early on, that was our number one market. And then we did a lot of work with multi-state operators. Then California basically started to grow, and we sold extractors all over California. And now the hemp operators are starting to really hit, and basically the Northwest is really good for hemp. Canada is very good for hemp, and Europe is wide open for hemp. So there's a lot of people, putting places up business, and if they do it right, they'll have something that they can produce a brand, supply brands with good quality, and also have a low cost of operation. That you got to use CO2 to get those low cost of operation going on. So that's really important. I can't tell you if you can't hit the right margins coming out of a consumer product, you're going to have a hard time competing with everybody else who's going to, be lowering their price, as things go forward here.
Yeah. And then you've also got to deal with the, inferior quality stuff that's out there as well. The operators that are trying to do it the right way and, growing good stuff and everything like that, competing against, snake oil out there. That's got to make it tough as well. Cause, you really don't know what's in there unless you've got, certificates on there or, something that can show that you're getting what you're paying for. Right. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think that consumers are basically demanding high quality. So they know they're reading labels. Okay. Number one, if you got, like, for example, we've done a lot of work with just measuring. We have a full on laboratory here. We got about a $2 million laboratory that we have. And we do a lot of testing. And the issue with some of the extracts is it has residual heptane in it. It has residual, IPA, acetone, things like that. And we doing these samples for various people. And the issue that I see is maybe about 30, 40% of them have that in there. And so, people are taking that oil and they're diluting it down to get it so it'll pass the test. And then they're putting it into the products. And I just think that is the wrong way to go for the industry, because we really need to have good, solid products coming out of the industry so that, people aren't getting hurt by taking them. So, one of the things that has really concerned me lately is, even at a safe level, it's appalling how much the FDA allows, how much solvents the FDA allows in a like a pass test. It's a lot. It's like what they call 5,000 ppm. Like, it's a lot. And so example, if you take a tincture every day, you take it 3 times a day, and it has a allowable amount of like heptane in it, it would pass the test. You literally would be drinking liters of the stuff per year if you took it every day. So the deal there is that the FDA hasn't really, if you go back and you look at the literature and everything, they didn't really set the limits at the right level on the basis of data. They said, we don't have the data, so it's a class 3 solvent, and therefore 0.5% is okay. So there's some real issues there. I think the industry really has to self-police, in my view, and actually be better than what the FDA says, because I just don't think that amount of solvents, at some point in time, we're going to have to stop eating solvents. I mean, they weren't meant to eat, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. So.
Yeah. Isn't that scary too, that the FDA, that we kind of lean on for these types of regulations and things like that, in a lot of instances, especially when it comes to supplements. The FDA is sometimes kind of asleep at the wheel, and so it becomes important for the industry to self-regulate, because you surely don't want something to happen, like the vaping crisis that happened, all of a sudden you've got places that are banning vaping, and you've got, so it's important that the industry polices itself and that these quality standards are adhered to, because, you don't want to put a black eye on the, on a burgeoning, growing industry right now.
Right. And I give this stuff to my relatives and my friends and stuff. It's got to be clean. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be molecularly clean. I mean, I would never knowingly give something, oh, well, it passes the test, don't worry about it. Right. No way. I mean, I think that a lot of the, you're talking about people.
Would you give this to your grandma?
Exactly. Or your kids.
Would you, that's like the purity test. Right. And by the way, my grandma does take CBD. It blew my mind away. I was there talking to her, and she told me, she's like, yeah, I take this stuff. I don't know. And then my aunt was like, yeah, that's CBD. And she loves it. She's been able to get off of, my grandma was on all kinds of different medications at one point, and there was interactions happening and everything else. And she has been able to, get off some different things. And she really likes this CBD. So we got to make sure we don't give Gam bad CBD full of solvents and stuff. We got to protect Gam right now. Protect
her. Right. Exactly. So, I mean, people give this to their kids, for various reasons. So we want to make sure that, we're doing right by them. So that's the main thing.
Are the standards the same in Canada? You guys do business in both the Canada and the United States. How are they doing with regulating this stuff?
Yeah, they're using that USP standard, which is, similar. So yeah, but I think that some of the LPs use ethanol, but not a lot of them. Most of them are using CO2, which is inherently, safe from that perspective. So you're not really, worried about whether or not there's heptane or hexane residuals in there. So that's something that the Canadians, there are a few ethanol producers, but look, if you're going to use ethanol, you should use, food grade ethanol, because it doesn't have that. And don't go to the chemical company and buy some cheap stuff that's laced with heptane so that they can sell it without the excise tax. That's what's really going down here.
So are you surprised or how surprised are you that cannabis companies or cannabis has been deemed essential during this, during this time period? State after state, they have decided, what can stay open and what's going to be closed, and dispensaries, for the most part, have been allowed to stay open. They've been deemed essential. How surprised are you by that?
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. Like a lot of our customers are, they're food grade or food certified by the states. So the states have applied a GMP, food processing style of a GMP compliancy standard on them. So the state considers them to be a food, many states. So not the federal government, obviously, but they said it can't be in food. So it's kind of funny how that all works. So I knew immediately that, a lot of the operations were going to stay open if they could, or if they could get ethanol or whatever. Turns out that they can't. So, a lot of them are shuttering. But, I also, like with cannabis, I'm not really sure. I guess I was a little bit surprised, but, people are all cooped up in their houses, and, what are they going to, they're getting stir crazy there. So they're going to have something to do, I guess. So, try some brownies or something along those lines.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. We don't know how long people are going to be, with a stay-at-home order. Right. And, for a lot of people, cannabis is medicine. Right. So it's like you're going to tell people they can't have their medicine, during a pandemic. Right. That's definitely not going to go over well. And, not to mention there's a lot of jobs on the line, tax revenue and things like that. But yeah, we've been talking to some different guests, and everybody seems to be pretty excited at the fact that, here in 2020, cannabis has been deemed essential, with a lot of other businesses. And, it would be hard to see that maybe, 5-10 years ago.
Well, all the states basically have, some sort of medical program, and, and they have indications, and, so, yeah, why would they deny people, access to their medication? Makes sense.
Right. So what do you think, this is just a fun question that we like to ask, what do you think will be the absolute last state to legalize cannabis? Like the one that's going to come kicking and screaming, if you had to put money on?
It hasn't been.
I'm thinking somewhere in the South. I think it'll be a, maybe one of the southern states, maybe like Bible Belt. I'm thinking, like a Mississippi or an Alabama. I would have said Utah, but they've got medical.
Yeah. Well, Idaho hasn't been very friendly. That would be one that, that would say, and then I know that there's a lot of people that are stopped, going through Nebraska. So if I were a betting man, maybe I'd bet on one of those two. I don't know.
Nebraska or Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you said you have a $2 million lab. You guys have a virtual tour. People can go. Yeah. Can they go online and can they tour?
Yeah.
Your lab?
So we did a virtual tour. You can sign up for it. Basically, we're doing process by process, but one I have like a walkthrough. It's an hour long. You can go and see everything from grinding all the way through to distillate production. And it's pretty cool. So yeah, get online. We have a YouTube video on that, and and just take a watch. We also have a guide that we can, if you're looking to get into the business, a lot of people, they need to know different figures and charts and things like that. So I wrote a guide up. It's not perfect. I don't think it is. I found some errors in it and stuff, and I found some spelling errors, but I got them all worked out, and the guide is being downloaded, by the thousands now. So it's a pretty successful guide, I think.
And where can they find you? Where can they go online?
Yeah, they can go online. They can go to extraktLAB.com. There's also, are you going to put up show notes on your podcast? Maybe if not, there's a guide you can go on there, and there's a link to it. But on our website, obviously you can get that. Yeah. And also the tour, just go to our YouTube video. Please subscribe. We're building our subscription base. So yeah.
That's awesome. And so what are you excited about the, just kind of the fact that science is such a big part of this industry? I know you're a science guy. I know you love, being the man in the white coat, back there doing these things. But isn't it cool to see something that, maybe we grew up with where it was just recreational, and that was your relationship with cannabis. But now there is so much science and there's so much tech and so much innovation going on in the business. That's got to excite you a little bit.
It does. I mean, not just from our company. Okay. I think that, all the boats are rising with the tide, and the tide's going up. And, it's really cool to see, basically the operator innovators is what I call them. They're people who are just making it happen at the operations level. It's really cool. Some of them come up with the best things, and I just hats off to those guys, because, oh, that's how you're doing that. I've been kind of, thinking about this for a long time. I couldn't quite solve it. And that's happened to me several times. So I really appreciate our customers. Like, I like to go out and visit our customers. I like to visit I kind of like to visit the old guys too, that are operating, that have been around since the beginning, because they have really good stories. And then,
the
a lot
OGs.
of those guys they're just looking to get, they're looking to make money, and they're looking to get the best shop that they can. And so, small operators like that are really fun to be around. So all kinds of interesting stories coming out of those trips and travels. So to different places.
I love it. And it's so much fun to chat with you, to somebody who's so passionate about the science, about the tech. People ask me all the time, because we're Cannabis and Tech Today. They're like, what does tech have to do with cannabis?
Right.
And I'm like, there's so much, I mean, in this day and age, tech has to do with everything. Every company considers themselves a tech company. And it doesn't even matter what industry you're in. They're all talking about the innovation, so cannabis is no different. Hemp is no different. And it's just really, really cool to talk to people like you, and get a little peek behind the scenes at what's going on, especially in an industry as important as extraction. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, when they say extraction, they always kind of think of like an extractor. But we look at it as an entire, either facility or, a whole flow of different pieces of equipment. So, we help customers kind of piece that all together. It's like a puzzle, and we're using science. We're working with engineers. We're working with their scientists. We're working with their, their analytical scientists. So a lot of these guys are, it's really fun, because it's a multifaceted team, a multifunctional team, and you can put something together and have it operating within, 5-6 months. Amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. I feel like we could talk for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And would love to have you on the show again sometime. Everybody who's listening right now, check out extraktLABs. Make sure you go take the virtual tour, check out their content that they're putting out right now. Really just some innovative guys in the industry. And it's an absolute pleasure to be able to, to be able to chat with you, have you on our podcast, and, be able to just kind of help share what you guys are doing right now, because science matters, facts matter right now. Innovation is definitely big. A lot of businesses are really pivoting during this time right now. And it's just, it's cool to talk to some people like you behind the scenes that are just, that are out there making it happen. So we really do appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. If you like this episode, make sure you share it with your friends, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to follow us on social media so you can stay in the conversation and get updates whenever we have new stuff that we're putting out. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Cannabis Tech Talks.